Can we talk about the kind of passages or maybe the kind of questions that you can expect in the reading section? What do you think you will be asked to do? What do you have to find? Can you try noting down things here on the Jamboard? Anything that comes into your mind, I'll give you some time. You can use the text box. That would be easier. Do you see this icon? Just click there and you can edit the text box. Just type it in. For example, you need to find details. Facts. Do you want me to type it in? You can tell me then. It's also fine.
Yeah, I can't find the text box.
Oh, you don't find this. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'll get it.
Like questions based on a paragraph.
Yes, of course, it would be based on a paragraph since it's reading comprehension. But what kind of questions? What would they ask you? What do you have to do?
You need to understand like the general meaning of the paragraph sometimes.
General meaning. So, are you talking about the overall idea?
Yeah.
General meaning or central idea?
Yeah.
So, how is central idea different from something more particular?
It would require you to like understand the whole paragraph. If it was particular, it might just be like a few lines.
Okay, so it's something more, something specific to some lines or some part of a paragraph versus the whole paragraph in general, right? Okay. Can you think of something else pertaining to the entire paragraph? This would answer the question of what, right? What is said in the paragraph? What else can be asked in the entire paragraph?
I don't know.
Maybe think of the WH questions.
Why?
Why? What would then that be listed? If you're asking why the author has written something, you would be answering, finding out
The purpose of the paragraph.
or some intention with which the author has written his particular. Or you could be asked function of certain things in the paragraph. For example, you would probably have a line in literature. Why is this line included? Or why is this particular example included in scientific study? So all these would be relating to the purpose. Okay. There is yet another WH question you can think of.
Maybe who? Like.
Yes, that too was. Some cases you would need to identify exactly, you need to link what is said by someone or the opinion of somebody. And you'll be given the opinion of somebody else in the option also. So that would work. Yes, identify also this would be identifying opinions, attitudes, tone, mostly literature. Okay. And then something else?
How?
Yes. To wonder how maybe you would be asked how something is structured, how the paragraph or the passage is structured, or the ideas organized, overall structure of the paragraph. So all these things would be covered. So these are basically ideas, right? This is an idea, and some are all these things directly present in the passage.
No.
What would be directly present in the passage? This one?
Yeah.
Is it directly given to you that central idea of this so?
No, you need to like derive it.
Yes, it is given in a way. It's here. You can say it's both. Given,
Yeah.
but may not be given in the exact same way. But still, since it's given, we'll go with like you explanation. Right? It's not your but is this given in opposite side of the coin?
No.
Not necessarily. Structure, you have to look for that. Yes. Based on
Yeah.
what is given, you understand. Purpose of something.
You infer it.
So there are certain things that you can identify directly, but certain things that you need to infer. That's the difference between details or facts and opinions. And some things that pertain to the entire passage, some things that are more specific. And some that is there are some questions that are related to the content as such, some that are related to organization, purpose. So it even goes to why the writer is writing something, how the writer is organizing it, not just what the writer is saying, right? All right. Also, suppose you are given text one here and another one, text two, say here. So what can you be asked when a question is relating to both these texts?
If they both agree on the same things.
Very good. Yes. That is one way of making the test, right? Or how there are even questions asking you to identify whether the writer of text one would react in a certain way when given a question.
Yeah.
So it is not necessarily there in the text. It can also be hypothetical. What do you mean by hypothetical? If I ask you, does the writer of text one agree with the type? That's something that's there in the text, right?
Yeah.
But if I ask you, how would the author of a text one probably react to the idea put forth in text two? Isn't that something that might happen instead of that? Like, just a question. It's just imagination, right? Supposing that happens, how would the author react to this?
Yeah.
There are certain questions like that, asking you, giving you that given something is 100% true, how would that have an effect on the given text? Okay, so there are hypothetical questions as well, and then okay, so what are passages made up of?
Sentences.
What are sentences made up of?
Words.
All these words, like you said, are in sentences which are within paragraphs. So in the SAT digital, we have short paragraphs. We don't need to worry much about the connection between paragraphs. Okay. Now here, if I ask you meaning of a given word, how is that different from suppose I ask you the meaning of okay, maybe let's say this is something very simple. I can yeah. Okay. Think of the word dark. What does dark mean?
No presence of light.
It's light. It's opposite of light, right? Okay. But suppose I identify the same word from a passage about dark coffee. Dark coffee. What would
Yeah.
dark mean then?
Like.
It would be something like a negative humor, right?
Yeah.
So here, so what happened here? The same word, when it's introduced in a particular context, text one, text two, somewhere here, in that context, its meaning would change. So what happens is in these questions, you are given options that would actually mean something to the word itself, but the meaning wouldn't fit into the context.
Yeah.
Everything is happening within a context. You have a particular text. Within the text, you are identifying this. Within the text, you're making inferences. You are hypothesizing that suppose something happens, what would be the answer? You're thinking of that. You're thinking of relationship between text. But everything is supported by the text. So always remember your answer would be 100% supported by the text. You are not going to use your outside knowledge of the subject while you're answering the questions. This is a given. Even though the answer may not be directly present, you are making conclusions based on what is given to you. Okay? So outside knowledge doesn't play a part in it, except maybe, okay, of course, you have to understand the language, but then generally, when it comes to information or making conclusions, everything is taken from the text, either directly mentioned or you're making inferences based on what is given. So always make sure the option you choose is 100% supported by the text. Always you should be able to identify the answer or clues within the paragraph itself. Okay. And what else I want to talk to you about? Okay, so basically it's that. So everything is based on the reading passage itself. Okay. Now, what about the writing section? Writing and language. So what is that? What could that be about?
The grammar.
Very good. What within grammar? Anything of
Like punctuation or
Oh yes, punctuation is big trouble. Uh, okay.
yeah,
And
or word choice.
very good. Word choice.
And I've seen questions where you try to make it more efficient.
If you are
So,
making it something more efficient,
yeah,
maybe you are making it concise,
yeah,
yes, more precise, like less words and more effective. Or you're adding something, you're
yeah,
removing something, or you're modifying something that is given to you, like all these
yeah,
things. So it's not just grammar per se, right? It's also about stylistics.
yeah,
Certain things need a sentence can be correct, but it can be made more effective using another word or another way of putting it. Right?
yeah,
So that's why it's called language and writing. So when you write, there is this crucial aspect called editing, right? You always have to make sure that something is fixed. For that, you have to edit it. Do editing. So editing and grammar. That's how I would put this all these questions there. So either it would come under grammar. Can you think of some other grammar items that are crucial? Punctuation is a must, right? It's not much of a choice. Something else? Okay, let's look at this example. Taking classes make me happy. Is this a correct sentence? Oh god, grammarly. Okay. Is this a correct sentence?
no,
Why is it not correct?
it's supposed to be mixed
Why is it supposed to be mixed?
because taking classes is one activity.
Yes, exactly. So you're not going with classes, right? You're going with the activity itself. So even though this is a verb here, it is functioning like a noun. That's why
Yeah,
you'll go with what happens if there are a lot of words between you get confused, right? That's what happens in SAT also. There are a lot of these subject verb agreement questions.
yeah.
Verb agreement. There are also questions on pronoun agreement. Heard about that? that might be. What will a pronoun have to agree? The subject has to agree to the verb. Pronoun has to agree to. What does it stand for? A pronoun stands for.
It's like
What does it put in the sentence instead of? Would it use he instead of?
a name.
What is that? So you will be looking at whether a pronoun and noun agree. It seems obvious enough and simple enough, but these clues are
Yeah.
more confusing when you actually try to look. Okay. These are some other grammar items: punctuation, word choice, pronoun agreement, subject-verb agreement, and also some other things like modifier placement, logical comparison. You know these things, but maybe you wouldn't have thought about it before. That's all. Okay. So we'll go into the depths of all these topics. Don't worry about it. We'll also look at this thing you told about editing. Okay. All these will be part of our writing classes. Now, one thing you have to understand is that all these questions would be jumbled in the SAT digital exam. It's not like the paper based SAT where you have a separate reading section and a separate section on writing and language. It's all jumbled together. But then, for the purpose of understanding the test, understanding the question types, and getting ourselves clear on the topics, we are dividing this. Okay. So for now, we'll just go into the SAT digital test and understand how the test actually is structured. We'll also look at the paper-based test so that we get a comparative understanding. Are you able to view my slides?
Yeah.
So let's look at SAT digital. The SAT digital test is conducted by the College Board. So this is the organization that conducts the test. It's a not-for-profit organization. And the aim is to prepare students for a transition to college. That is, you are transitioning from a school student into a college student, and later you'll be taking up careers, right? So the skill set that is expected from you is different. So this test is also it's a way of assessing your skill set, but also a way of preparing you for that transition, right? So if you looked at this questions we came up with, all those were not just about getting details from the passage, right? And if it was reading comprehension, it was not just getting details from the passage. It involved a lot of thinking, critical reasoning, making conclusions, inferences. And when it comes to SAT Digital, you'll also realize that you have to think like researchers do. You'll be looking at something that is given, you'll be identifying the best evidence to support something, the best finding that will support a study that is being conducted. So all these things are involved. So it's like you're making that movement from school to college, and SAT will also help you prepare for that. Okay. Now, uh, SAT scores are accepted by most universities in the US and also in some other countries. Earlier, it was just the paper and pencil test, paper and this was just a paper-based test. Now it's digital, not for everybody right now, but for international SAT students from this March or something, it's digital. So you will be taking the digital version of the test. Give me a second.
Sorry.
No, I was just asking you to give me a second. I'm done.
Uh,
Okay. Now, these are the test dates and the deadlines for registration and all. I've shared this presentation with you. I sent it to you yesterday. You can also take a look at all these details later. Since you're taking the test in March, you will be registering probably somewhere in February. Now, the key features of SAT Digital: you will be tested on English and Math, like you said. This test is much easier for College Board to administrate and easier for you to take as students. We'll look at why it's so. Right? As we proceed and we compare the two tests, you will understand why SAT Digital is much more student friendly and much more easy for the administrators to give. And now the test, since it's a computer-based test, you will get a result sooner, within 2 days. Number of sections per subject would be two. That is two English sections and two math sections. Totally, it would be some 2 hours, 14 or 15 minutes. English would be for 64 minutes and math for 70 minutes. Okay. And one crucial thing about SAT Digital is that there is some adaptability between the tests. That's if your performance in the first verbal section is good, then your next section would be scaled accordingly. On an average, it would be more easy or difficult. You get that? So first one would be
Yeah.
having a mixture of all question types. Later, it would be scaled up a bit, but you need not worry about it too much. It will just cater to you as an individual student. That's all. Now, for English section, we have reading and writing combined as just one section, and within this one section, there are two modules. Okay, and it's mostly shorter RC passages. Shorter as in it's really short. It's just maybe 150 words and one question per passage. So math details your math instructor will share with you. Do you want me to pause for a minute so that you can look at the slide, or can I move on?
It's okay, you can move.
Now, we already saw how the reading and writing section would last for two. It would have consist of two equal length modules. Now, each one would take up 32 minutes, and that is 64 minutes in total, right? And each math test would take up 35 minutes, and totally it is 70 minutes. And now, since each module is timed separately, you can navigate within the section. But then, once you finish the section, maybe you cannot come back. And what else? So this course from SAT Digital will also benefit you to go ahead. It's not just for you to get admissions, but also about other training programs and things like that. College board will give you that relevant information. Okay. Now let's look at these details. Now you see that earlier in the paper-based test, we had long reading passages, and it's total of 9 passages with a number of questions per passage. Okay, but here you find that the reading passages are much shorter, and you have 50 passages. So at the outset, it looks like this would be more difficult than the paper-based test. But let's just look at the two test papers to get a better idea. So now we look at both the tests. This is the paper-based test, and here you have two separate sections on reading and writing a language. So it's 65 minutes and 52 questions. Now, what happens is, so here you have 9 questions and 9 passages in total. That is 5 for the reading section and 4 for the writing section. The passage is just huge and complex, and then you have some 10 or 11 questions per that passage. Okay. So now, if you observe these questions, you would have to go back and forth, right? So you have the passage, then you have to understand the passage, and then here some questions pertain to the entire passage. Some questions need you to go to specific lines and then make inferences. Some questions need you to find evidences for the previous question. So you have to answer question 4, then come to question 5, go to all of these lines, find evidences. So there's a lot of back and forth, right? So even though it's just 5 passages, there's the work is much denser. You need to understand the passages are rather complex, and then you have to answer all these questions. And these are also on set topics. The first one would be literature, then something from social science. Paired passages, those would belong to paired passages, as in two texts come together, like we discussed. And we also have passages from science and what else? Social sciences, something like psychology, subjects like that. And for the writing and language section, also you have passages in the old SAT. So here you have a passage like this, and there something would be underlined, and the questions are given side by side. Sometimes there is no question at all. You just have to understand what is wrong and make the required correction. Sometimes it's not anything wrong, but you're making a stylistic change, making something look better and more effective. And you have 4 passages there, 2 from specific subjects. So this is how it works. And this section is also rather long, 35 minutes and 44 questions, 4 passages. So this is how the old SAT worked. Now for the new SAT, I said it's much easier because the questions are like this. You finish this and you're done with question one, and you move on, right? So the what we call passages are really short with a maximum length of 150 words. And to maintain that uniformity, they've ensured that it's just the overall word count divided by six. So they've considered that no matter whether it's a space or some other character, it counts. And so you'll just add up all the characters and divide that by six, and you get the number of words. Okay. So always there's that uniformity in the length. It doesn't exceed so much of length. So whatever question you're answering is completely dependent on this. So you don't have to go back and forth and things like that. And also, SCT Digital will be taken on the computer. To be more specific, on your own laptop. You can take your laptop to the test center. And you'll be taking the test there. There is a specific official app. Our academic manager will walk you through that later. Okay. So this one, once you are ready for the test, you will be taking it on the some app, Blue Book app, and then that will enable. It is more adaptive. You finish one section, this next section comes up accordingly, and that's how this works. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah.
So basically, it's shorter passages instead of long passages. We not even call these passages because they're really short, and these are discrete questions, questions that are standalone and not connected. Now. All right. So there are certain questions that are not tested, but you wouldn't know which these are. Okay. But it's not too much. It's just two questions per section. These wouldn't be tested. That's just for college boards experimentation. Okay. But you wouldn't know which ones these are, so you have to answer them anyway. You have 27 questions per section, and it's roughly around 1 minute, 1 minute and a quarter. That would be the time you get to answer a particular question. But remember, some questions may be easier than the others, so you can solve them quicker and spend more time on the ones you find difficult. And these are the subject areas from which you'll get your passages. These are just broad subject areas. You'll be getting passages from literature, history or social studies, humanities, science, etc. And you also have certain passages where you'll be given informational graphics. That is some visual depiction, like a table or a bar graph or a line graph. You'll just get one of these three, it will be nothing else. And you have to relate the figure that is shown to the text that you're given and then solve the questions. Okay. These are the scores. The total score would be somewhere between 200 and 1600. These are scale scores. It's not your raw score. That is, if you get 25 questions correct, it's not that number. They have a certain table for converting the scores. And based on that, you get a score between 400 and 1600. And for sections, it would be half of that, right? 200 and 800. And they have certain benchmarks, like whether your career in college ready or that you would be ready within a year, you have 1 year back in your academic growth, or you need significant amount of growth, then you would be classified under the red section based on your score. So always aim for higher scores because that would fetch you the best results. This is the procedure for registering for your SAT test. You'll have a team's support. You can ask them for any information that you may need. This is just giving you a basic idea. You need to sign into the college board account, give in the relevant information, upload the relevant documents, and then you are done with that. Okay. These are the acceptable IDs, passport or an Aadhaar card, and you have an examination fee. There are provisions for sending your scores to universities, and if you have taken the score multiple times, there are different options for you depending on what you're using the score for. Sometimes you can send the best aggregate score, sometimes the best section scores picked from your various attempts. And this depends on what you're using the score for. And this is about your examination fee. The total fee for Indian students is 109. There are certain policies for cancellation, refunds, and things like that. You can look these up later at your convenience. Okay. Do you want to read these slides now?
So now it's okay.
Ah, that's why I asked you to go through this before also, so that you get time to go through these details. Okay. So these are about, so there are, just be aware that there are certain requirements that you need to keep in mind for registering for the test, certain documents that you need to have, and just be prompt. Don't delay things. And since SAT Digital allows you to take your gadget to that is your laptop, to the testing center, make sure you also specify those, you also meet those requirements. Okay. And don't worry about these things. Somebody will walk you through this later, the application and how to use it, what to take care of, things like that. Okay. From the next session, we'll be looking more deeply at the verbal section itself. That is the reading and writing section. Like we already saw, it would be 27 questions each. Based on your performance in the first section, your second section would be coming up accordingly. Okay. So, what can you read up to be better prepared for the reading and writing section? Maybe academic writings. Okay. Academic writings or something of an academic level. So you would be looking for texts that are between the complexity range of it can be understood by somebody between grades 9 and 12, but it's academic enough and something that is complex enough to test you on college relevant skills, right? So these are some ideas on what you can read up. Maybe you can read up international journals, newspapers, editorials, things like that. Try to see if you understand those things. Then you'd be in a better place. And for writing and language section, it's important to brush up on your grammar. We'll do that. We'll definitely look at the grammar topics on depth, in depth. Also, for every test, it's not just important to be knowledgeable enough in the particular skills, a particular area, right? You also need to understand the test itself. That's why I spend so much time on comparing the two tests and looking at it, showing it to you, because you need to know what you are facing. You need to know how the test will uh, trap you, how it will give you certain options to misguide you. So even for the example we looked at, the word dark, it means something when you take the word separately. But then when you put it in a specific context, the meaning changes. So it's a case for everything. And so options are not just some options. Those options are designed to trick you. The questions are designed to trick you. So you need to have a very in-depth understanding of the test itself, the question types, what all you can face. So that will equip you for the test better. Okay. So this is one sample question. You want to try and solve it?
Okay.
Okay.
D.
D. Okay, tell me why D is the answer.
Because um,
So now you're looking for a word or phrase, right? But is the word given to you? No. Here you're just given the context, right?
yeah,
All right. So what would you want to fill in the blank? This astronaut says that she doesn't have a definite idea about something, but
yeah,
she does something, right? Without a definite idea, she performs some kind of thinking action, right? It's not that it's an action per se, it's some kind of thought that she has, right? That
yeah.
humans will someday need to be able to live in other environments than those found on Earth. So she's not sure about it, but she does something. Can she establish something without being sure of it?
No.
So it cannot be the answer. Okay. Uh, and this conjecture, you have another clue here. So this is clue number one. This is clue number two. This conjecture informs her interest in future research missions to the moon. So she just has some maybe she thinks something might happen, right? She's not sure.
Speculates.
It's maybe an idea. Maybe you can call it a conjecture. You can call it a hypothesis. What else can you call it? Is she doubting it?
No.
It's not
Speculate.
speculating. Yes. Is she demanding it? No.
No.
So always it's important to go through all the options. Right? Even establishes. Why did you go with establishes? You saw that you looked at the option. It first caught your eye. I think
Yeah.
because it was more scientific. You just
Yeah.
felt this would be the correct option, right? But here you need to look at something called the context. That's always important when you're solving questions. Why are you given a passage? Because you're supposed to look at it, right? And there are a lot of details given here and there. It's not as bad as the GRE test. There you have clues all over, but here too you have complex clues enough, right? There are things. It's not stated directly that she's speculating something, but you have clues here and there. You need to pick those clues up, then look at the options, make sure you eliminate all the other things. You should be sure that it's not A, C, and D before you pick B. Okay.
Yeah.
So in our prep, we'll also focus on understanding why something is correct. So what all will we be looking at? You will be understanding the test. We'll be understanding our verbal section in depth, our question types, our topics, and also how the test is going to trick you. Then that will enable you to know something for sure. That is, you are not guessing the answer. So sometimes what happens in English is when you ask somebody why something is correct, they say, I just know it's correct. Right? Have you done that in school? I did that in school and college. Okay. So when some question was put to me, it would be just, I just know it's true. I don't know the rule. I don't know why it works. It just works. But what happens is this technique may not always work, especially when somebody is taking advantage of your thinking style, right? They are trapping you with all kinds of options. So then you should know, you should reason things out. You should use logical skills also. So language goes hand in hand with critical skills as well when you're attempting the SAT. Okay. All right. Is everything clear so far?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you remember from the class?